Welcome to Detective Diaries, brought to you by Private Detectives Answers Investigation. If you are captivated by the art of deduction, the thrill of solving the unsolvable, or the enigmatic world of private investigation, you've just found your new favourite podcast. Detective Diaries is where secrets unravel and the truth is always a clue away. Presented by Private Detectives Answers Investigation. Each episode contains offbeat conversations about the real people involved in investigation.
Once again, we're back with Detective Diaries, and you have probably heard and remember fantastic time we spent with Eddie Merton at Guildford Shakespeare Company, who I have to say can talk. That's her laughing in the background. And we ran out of time. So wonderfully, Eddie's come back to talk with us again. So bless her. Welcome back, Eddie, and thank you for being here once more.
You're very welcome. Delighted to be here.
When we spoke before, you touched on the whole education and community aspect of Guildford Shakespeare Company. But if I park that for a minute, something I do know about you, that one of your passions is the whole murder mystery thing, the evenings.
Yes.
You write this and script it yourself, don't you?
Yeah, with in collaboration with Sarah and Matt. Yes, absolutely. I've written 5.
Okay.
4. I've written 4, I believe. Just doing a mental count up. The first one I wrote, I pitched to Sarah. I'd had an idea. We'd performed one, a 1920s one that I hadn't written at the Ivy just before COVID, and I'd had an idea, and we'd actually started working on it, and that got performed, I think, literally the week before lockdown. And that was one set in the 1950s. And then I'd had another idea that was percolating. And Sarah and I, during lockdown, started going on walks. And I said, I've had an idea for a murder mystery. Because we'd jumped straight online as soon as we went into lockdown.
So this is COVID.
This is COVID.
2020-ish.
We started by putting out an interactive murder mystery online. That sold so well, and was hugely popular. It was at the point where everyone was new to Zoom and wanting to engage. So it's a Sunday, we're on our walk, and I said, I have this idea about an art gallery, and I sort of just started talking. She asked me a few questions, and then on Monday morning, I got an email going, yeah, we love it. We'd like to, can you get us a script by Friday? Because we'd like to R&D, which is research and development on the script, next week. And then we'd like to get the script out to the actors the following Friday. I think the timeline was insane.
4 days.
I was like, I've not...
4 days to write the
script?
script?
I've not written it yet. And she was like, no. I mean, to be fair, I hadn't got anything else on. It was lockdown. So I wrote All That Glisters. And I loved the writing process of it. I loved creating this web of of connections with people, and it was set in the 1980s, which I just there was one bit where I was like, can I get away? This feels a bit cheesy to be putting this series of lines in that are lyrics, and we took it into the first R&D, and they were like, oh no, we need to put that in. That needs to stay in. And the R&D process, with GSC is, I find, terrifying going in for me, but it's so lovely. It's so nurturing, and, you just know that the product that you're going to come out with at the end is going to be so much better for it. And so you pick it apart and then you put it back together, you find what works. And it did indeed stick to the timeline. And nothing more galvanizing than a show going on sale when you've still not written the final draft yet. That's quite a leveling feeling.
But your locations for murder mystery evenings, I mean, that's in the whole GSC ethic, isn't it?
Oh, completely. So
Where have you been?
So I got a phone call in 2022 saying, "Shall we do? We're thinking about doing a murder mystery on a plane." And I was like, a big plane, a little what? No, a 747. And will it be in the air? No, it'll be grounded. Oh, I mean, because you've just asked me if I could write a murder mystery for a plane. I think all of my questions are valid. No, it's going to be grounded. It's at Dunsfold, and so we went to the 747. They've got three at Dunsfold, and so that was the first site responsive, and it was the first ever play, I believe, that has been written for and performed on a Boeing 747, and it was completely amazing. I don't think I ever stopped pinching myself. So that was the first one, and that was called Boeing Boeing Gone, because we love a good pun.
I've got to interject because I was there and I saw it, and it was just fantastic. It was, the whole experience was out as well. And of course, I went away very full of it, and somebody else at work, had been to see it as well. And I mentioned it to my friend Chris, who's a BA pilot, and the absolute epitome was him saying, "Oh yes, I've flown that."
Yeah.
I mean, did you ever have any other BA staff?
We did. We had flight crew. We had flight attendants who were able to sort of tell us about the plane, and they'd travelled on that. They'd worked that plane. It was fascinating. We had another person who'd flown that plane who came up and was sort of, because we took the audience up onto the second level, because it was where business class was, and then you could get straight into the flight deck. So we had the flight deck open, and we had our slumped dead body in the flight deck. You weren't allowed to go into it, but you could look in. And we were able to take the audience all over the plane, which is, of course, what you don't get to do whenever you go on a plane. You tend to go to your seat and the loos. And possibly, if it's long haul, then you wander up and down your area. But we took the audience. There was a modified sort of cargo area at the back. They were able to, the main brunt of the show happened in economy, and then we took them into business class. We took them into first class. We took them into upstairs and to view the flight deck. So we had an audience that were able to move all around the plane, and our evidence room was in the cargo hold, which everyone loved playing in. And it was seeing the audience getting to play.
Do you think you could adapt Shakespeare to a 747?
I don't know, but I wouldn't put anything past Sarah and Matt at this stage of the proceedings. That probably is the only thing I would say. Probably.
I'm trying to think of the Shakespeare play that could be best performed on a 747. I mean, that's a challenge.
Well, we called the airline was Aerial Airlines. I don't know. I mean, we had Merry Wives of Windsor done, where the actors arrived on a miniature train. So I won't put anything past them at this stage of the proceedings. But yeah, it was fascinating, and the production manager Hannah and I got to lock up the plane every night. So after everybody had left, we got to lock up the plane, and it became our plane.
I'm sure you didn't play while you were doing that.
We just loved it. We had one night where my family were in, and we have a brilliant sound designer called Matt Eaton who does most of our shows, and he is a genius human being. And he'd put sort of subwoofers under the seats, and so when the plane was taking off, it sort of, you felt those vibrations, and he created this amazing soundscape. But on this particular night, it was really, really windy, and the plane is aerodynamic, so it moves in the wind. We didn't clock that this was going to happen. None of us had considered that the plane was going. You felt a bit of wobble, but it was properly. It felt like it was bouncing. There was some flex in the wings that was having an effect on the fuselage. So the sound comes in, that you've got that rumble of the plane beginning to take off. The actors are doing sort of Star Trek acting of the plane moving, and I can see the audience going, "Oh my God, the plane's moving the plane." the people in front of, like, that are just that I can see, because we're all in high vis, the stewards are all in high vis watching the audience, because the consideration for that particular location was all the doors have to work, because if you have an emergency evacuation, fire crew need to get in.
Sure.
So all of the doors open from the outside and the inside and have to work. But you're 45 foot up. So if you open a door and step out of it, even if you step onto a wing, it's a 6 foot drop, you're going to break an ankle. If you step out of a plane, out of one of the doors, and there isn't the stairs, spiral fractures is the best outcome. You're doing a 45 clear drop onto tarmac. So we had to be very, very vigilant in managing the audience to make sure that no one went rogue and tried a door. So that's been our safety concern. That's been my, as front of house manager in that mode, that's been my concentration. Suddenly the audience are going, oh my God, they're moving the plane. Do you reckon they've got hydraulics? Me and Hannah are meanwhile having a conversation going, how bad does it have to get before we have to evacuate? Is this safe? And her dad was on board that night, and he is, that's his wheelhouse. And so we were sort of looking to him, and we were like, he looks fine. And everyone, no one else, security, no one else has said anything. We're fine. But it was a moment of this is an unusual situation. But the audience completely delighted by it. We were in a completely different mode. But yeah, that was a special place to perform. We've also performed we also took a murder mystery to West Horsley Place, which is where they filmed BBC's Ghosts. So it's Button House. And again, completely different, but completely magical. That was our Christmas murder mystery last year, called The House Trap. And we got to perform in a building that's been there since, or part of it, been there since the Tudor times.
Creating an authentic atmosphere must be such a head start to any production.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, you mentioned, I remember when we spoke before, you said about the arena, the venue being the extra person on stage.
It's the other part of the company. It is, and it lends itself so much. I mean, you're performing a 1920s murder mystery in a building that's been there since the Tudor times, so has been through so many iterations, and you can put people in period clothing, and again, we had all of the sort of the 1920s set dressing and beautiful lighting to just create that atmosphere, and suddenly, you completely buy into it, because you're going into a room that is set up, and you can feel the history in that space.
Is it fun watching people trying to solve the murder mystery?
Oh, I love it. It's fun, and it's that you give it to the audience, it becomes theirs, they do with it what they will, and people are desperate to, I think they perhaps give me more credit than I'm due, because they will come up with some outlandish theories, which I love. The more outlandish, but they will disappear down rabbit holes. And when you're writing it, you try to give some red herrings and some misdirect, but you don't want to give too many, because that people are going to come and they will create their own, and they will marry that, and they will follow it to the ends of the earth, and you're just like, I love your imagination, but that's absolutely not what happened. This is what happened. We told you along the way. But it's fascinating to see, and it's joyful. It's really, really joyful to see people when they realise something, or they in the evidence room they'll spot something, and they have an aha moment, and it's an absolute delight. And people come with such an energy because you're being completely immersed in that world. They just get so into it, and you can just see it sort of takes people out of themselves, and it's a real gift. It's really lovely to see people playing with something that you've created.
Indeed, fantastic. Eddie, back to the subject about education and community, and you're going into schools and doing an awful lot of other avenues and ventures. kid who's seen one of your workshops and been involved in it, do you ever attract them into the main productions?
We do. We have funded tickets available for our teenage family mental health group. We quite often provide funded tickets for those kids to come along. And actually, we've got a big party in tonight. And on Saturday, so earlier on, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, I was judge for Guildford High School's Shakefest for their year 8s. I look forward to each year. They're amazing kids. And on Saturday matinee, this group of girls, so year 8 is about 12, 11, 12, came over and they were like, you were our judge. And they came to see Frankenstein and they absolutely loved it. And then I had another lot in. And so you have, you're talking and making a connection with these students, these young people, and they're sort of getting swept up in the joy of engaging, whether it's through a workshop, whether it's through me just going in and chatting and watching what they're creating, and they had done some amazing work, and then they're coming to see perhaps a show that they perhaps wouldn't have seen before. They're bringing their family in, and you see those connections being made, and you're bringing young people into a theatre space that perhaps either they didn't think was for them. It happened particularly in Romeo and Juliet, when we had a young community chorus as well. We had the older chorus, we had the adult chorus, and then we had young people. Not only were they come, bringing their families and their friends to a theatre, to a performance, but for some of them, they were coming into Guildford Town Centre for the first time because it was a space that they didn't think was theirs. Okay. So it's making that space and making all of these spaces that we work in community spaces, making them for everyone.
You're an actor yourself, and I mentioned last time we spoke about my total apprehension in interviewing you. Because I'm interviewing someone who I know who can just talk, and honestly, the prospect of that is quite awe-inspiring. What's the best role you've ever played? And and what role would you like to play? So what's your best role? What would you really like to play? I've got another question after that as well.
Okay. I think the best one, another pinch me one, was I played Jane Austen at Chawton House. So Chawton House
What's Chawton House?
So Jane Austen's cottage that she grew up in, that she wrote in, is in Chawton, the village of Chawton.
Wow.
Not far from here, for about a 30-minute drive. And the Great Hall at Chawton House was where her brother lived and where they used to put on private theatricals.
So this is like performing Shakespeare in Stratford.
Yeah. It was a pinch me moment. There was a moment where I was stood outside. It was done in the Great Hall, where we know that she was a big fan of private theatricals. So she would write these hilarious skits when she was sort of a young adult that were completely bonkers. These characters were outlandish, and some of them, the play looked at the evolution of Eleanor and Marianne from Sense and Sensibility. And it looked at, how you can identify them in her early works, which are completely, over the top characters. And they were all in, and I would stand outside. And there was a moment where I was like,
"Are you really here?"
You feel the history.
What's the role you would like to play best? Or is that unfair?
So my son is currently in his 3rd year at drama school. He's just about to be launched into this world, and I would love to perform with him. And so if we were going down a Shakespeare route, I would love to play Gertrude to his Hamlet.
Fantastic.
Just because of the knotty, mother-son relationship that goes on in that play. I think that would be another pinch me moment.
Yeah, it's kind of quite close to home for you, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. On that theme of what would you like? GSC, famous for using site-specific venues. What would be your ultimate, apart from a Boeing 747, but your ultimate site-specific venue? Can you think of one?
Well, keeping with the transport route, so we've done planes. We've done a plane. I've performed on Cunard's Queen Mary,
Wow.
doing the transatlantic.
Mhm.
So doing Prospero's final closing speech in the atrium of the Queen Mary whilst crossing the Atlantic was amazing. And they went on the Queen Victoria with Pride and Prejudice last year. So we've done ships. There's something about a train. I think we've done the mini
Steam train.
the steam train, something completely a logistical nightmare, but completely fantastic.
Sure.
Because we've been inside, we've done, Alice in Wonderland had Guildford Castle, we had the trial take place in Guildford Castle. So all of the major landmarks in Guildford that have been logistically
So do you walk around
possible.
going, been there, done it, been there, done it,
We
been there, done it?
walk round going, could we? Canal barge would be fun as well, but it's the logistics of them.
Sure.
There's the creative head
Yes.
that and
Limited
Sarah.
audience on the canal barge.
Yeah,
isn't it?
and Sarah and Matt are both brilliant at finding these locations, and but yeah, I think there's train or a train carriage would be a fun.
Love the idea.
That would be a fun one.
Okay. Ellie, finally, before we sadly have to leave, I've got some personal questions for you.
Rightio.
This has got to be quick fire answers.
Okay.
Okay. What's your favourite Shakespeare play and why?
Midsummer Night's Dream, because it's the first one that I saw as a child, and I was completely entranced by it. I got the mick taken out of me because I was basically just sat with my head in my hands, just locked in, and it was the fairies had tutus and like mid-calf Doc Marten boots and ripped tights, and Puck was in like a half dinner jacket, and the bed came down. It was at Stratford. The bed came down from the fly, and it was just magical, and I loved it.
Well, if you could have dinner with any historical figure, real one, not fiction, can't do Shakespeare, who? And
Anne
again, why?
Boleyn. Anne Boleyn.
With her head or without?
Ideally with her head, because then she could do talking. I think she would be really fascinating to learn about. I quite like that sort of time period. I think she was fascinating.
So I think you've already answered this, but the Shakespearean character you most relate to, is that still Gertrude? Or?
So I play Lady Macbeth a lot in schools workshops, and I spend a lot of time going, these are not mentally healthy people, so we're not going to villainize them. I mean, they do bad things, but Lady Macbeth, I think, gets a lot of muck thrown at her.
Yeah.
And I think that she has been through a huge amount, and I think that we know that she's lost children, and there's all of that potential that you have when you have a child, and for that to be taken away, and for her to, where she puts that love. There's that beautiful line in Fleabag where Fleabag says, I've got all this love and I don't know what to do with it, and her best friend says, give it to me, it sounds lovely. And I think there's a lot of Lady Macbeth in that. She's got a lot of ambition and drive, and it's not. She's the power that she has is dictated to her by her husband and her society that she lives in, and yeah, she doesn't do great things with it, I will admit, but I also think that she's a really interesting human being.
Wow. What's one thing you do when you're not, and I'm sure this isn't the case very often, but you're not actually thinking about theatre? When you're switching off, what do you do?
I sew. I enjoy sewing and creating. So I sew a lot of clothes. It's quite unusual that I'm not wearing one of my creations. My bag. I made my bag. But yeah, I make clothes, and every person I know that has had a baby has bunting with the baby's name on that I've made for them. I crochet. I enjoy fabric and yarn crafts. I think it turns my brain off, and I'm still creating, but I'm doing it in a different medium. I'm doing it with my hands, and I get to use colour and shape, and that's my bag.
Ellie Merton, actor, front of house, seamstress, all these different hats you have on, and I know from your studies in Shakespeare, I'm sure quite a fan of history. So who's your favourite detective, either from fiction or in history? Come on, it's putting you on the spot.
I love the Joy Ellis, Jackman and Evans books. I've listened to every single one of them. So Rowan Jackman is my favourite. Joy Ellis writes police procedurals, and set in the Lincolnshire Fens, and they're read. I listen to a lot of Audible, so that's what I do while I'm sewing, and they're read by Richard Armitage, and I love the world that she's created, and I love the character of Rowan Jackman. He's my favourite.
That's a wonderful diversion from the usual answers of Sherlock Holmes or Magnum or something.
No, very specific.
So, any plans to feature them in a murder mystery?
Oh, what feature? I'd love to feature. Yeah.
There's your challenge.
No, that's her world. I like to listen to. I don't have anything to do with her world. I want to listen to it and listen to the stories she creates. Mine are a little bit more outlandish and not, they're because I get to walk through different time periods, whereas hers are very modern and up to date and, on the ball.
Ellie, thank you so much for taking time out from what I know is a fairly horrendously busy schedule.
Thank you very much.
Will you come back and talk to us again in the future?
I will do, absolutely.
Thank you, Ellie.
Thank you.
Take care, my friend. Detective Diaries is designed to be interactive. You'll hear a voiceover to this effect, and we want to hear from you. Send us an idea for a podcast. It needs to have a link to investigative work, of course, or a guest you'd like to hear interviewed, or even whether you would like to appear yourself. You can send your thoughts by email to podcast@private-detectives.co.uk. The email address, if you haven't heard it, is in the show notes. The best entry will receive 2 tickets with our compliments and be our guest for the evening at Guildford Shakespeare Company's production of David Copperfield, and you may well find yourself interviewed.
Hi, my name's Ellie Merton. Come and listen to me talk about Guildford Shakespeare Company, the venues we perform in, which includes David Copperfield, which begins life at Jermyn Street Theatre, then goes to the Theatre Royal Windsor, the New Wolsey in Ipswich, and finally Guildford's Holy Trinity Church. Listen in on Detective Diaries.
Get involved. Detective Diaries is interactive, which involves you, the listener. Do you have a case you'd like discussed? A burning question about investigative life? Send an email to podcast@private-detectives.co.uk or reach out via social media. You may hear your story featured in an upcoming episode. Don't forget to leave your contact details. The email address is in the show notes.
My name is Dara Simpson-Denavaya. I'm studying criminology at Bath University. In a few months' time, I'm starting a year placement with Answers Investigation, so you'll be hearing more from me. In the meantime, listen to the experience of Lilia Moore, who was a recent work experience candidate. She enjoyed her time as a private detective so much, she recorded a podcast about it. The link is in the show notes. You can hear more from Detective Diaries on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts.
We hope you enjoyed today's podcast, brought to you by Answers Investigation and UK Fingerprint. If you've enjoyed our conversation and want to learn more about the fascinating world of investigations, be sure to check out Private Detectives Answers Investigation. Their experienced team offers a wide range of discreet and professional services, helping you find the answers you need with integrity and expertise. If you're interested in fingerprint analysis or require specialist fingerprint services, don't miss UK Fingerprint. As one of the leading fingerprint companies in the UK, they provide everything from identification to background checks, working with individuals, businesses, financial institutions, and gambling companies. To find out more, visit www.private-detectives.co.uk, that's a minus sign, and www.ukfingerprint.co.uk. These are your go-to resources for investigative solutions and fingerprint expertise. You can call their office on 020 7158 0332. Thanks once again for tuning in. Until next time, stay curious and keep seeking the truth.